Waste incineration, chronic poisoning of the people. Part 10. What do responsible doctors and biologists say? Many doctors will directly observe the development of disease in the population and care for those affected, see symptoms of the chronic mass poisoning more clearly than some people who, as medical officers and presidents of medical associations, put their status and good names to use as appraisers of waste incineration. Doctors in practice and clinics registers the permanent increase in disease associated with air pollution, allergies, asthma, neurodermatics, atopic eczema, tumors, neural disease. They also see the increase in diffuse symptoms which have not yet developed into classic disease but cause extreme chronic discomfort to patients. Clearly increasing nervous irritation like ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, lack of concentration, intolerance, and other forms of social misconduct, mental syndromes which can be explained by disruptive foreign substances on the lipid structures in the nerves, but also unspecific dysfunctions of other organs, liver, cardiovascular system, skin changes are on the rise. The chronic mass poisoning is full swing. A warning example is provided by the well-researched behavior of DDT in the environment. The insecticide DDT, dichlorodiphenyl trichlorethan, was sprayed in tropical region in large amounts to fight the malaria vector Anopheles mosquito. DDT evaporated and appended itself to dust particles in the air, which became condensation nuclei for raindrops. The toxically laden raindrops contaminated leaves and grass, the soil and the surface water, where the DDT accumulated in plankton and other smallest organisms. From there it was absorbed by slaughter animals, eggs or fish. Eventually it reached the end of the respective food chain, the seabirds or humans. In the wing bones of albatrosses in Antarctic, which only feed on fish, so much DDT was accumulated that those bones broke when they beat their wings. So the damage due to DDT and dioxin furans effects us humans less in a direct way through air pollution, but rather indirectly through accumulation in our food, especially fatty animal products. As shown by the example of DDT, all chlorinated cyclic hydrocarbons that are stable in the environment and long-lived behave like this, not only dioxins and furans. Some we use, like DDT, as insecticides, pesticides and herbicides. Even some hobby gardeners sometimes feel compelled to use such agents. But poisons demand always more poisons to combat the consequences, and so many people already tend to silently accept the increasing poisoning of our world as an inescapable fate. Only an American biologist once succeeded in opening the eyes of a broad public. Rachel L. Carson, with her book Silent Spring. She enlightened people about the clouds of selectively produced chlorinated cyclic hydrocarbons, insecticides and herbicides like aldrin, dieldrin, heptachlor, under which our gardens and fields, animals and we humans live. Such substances, alien to nature, which are produced chaotically in more or less similar form also in waste incineration plants, destroy the natural balance of microorganisms and smallest animals in the soil. They destroy the soil fertility and biodiversity. It speaks for the politician John F. Kennedy, then President of the USA, that he read Miss Carson's book himself and arranged for objective verification of her serious allegations. There were independent scientists in the USA then. Miss Carson was magnificently confirmed and acclaimed for her courage. But as severe as the shock was which Silent Spring caused, as quickly the warning was again forgotten, or rather hushed up. What about the Silent Spring here? If there are still gardens in which the decline of bird spreads is not yet recognized, then soon, with the increase in worst incineration plants, the silence in our garden will be loud and clear. Only gradually is the negative influence of our human-like impact of chemicals like DDT on the reproductive capacity of humans and animals becoming clear. The substances with proven or assumed hormone-like effects include numerous halogenated organic products produced by combustion processes. Besides dioxins, furans, also alkyl, phenols, PCB, or their decomposition products. Several working mechanisms are being discussed, those which already affect the maturing of sexual organs and the womb, and those who disturb hormone metabolism during adulthood. In medical science, the attention of toxicology has only recently shifted to the damaging effect of small chronically absorbed amounts of substances and from the classic cause effect relations to dose-time relations. Carcinogens, also some of the halogenated dioxin furans, functions according to the dose-time principle. Their high bonding capacity or adhesiveness, which were already emphasized for the soot and dust particles, of course also comes into play in long-term contact with the cell structures of our body. Tetrachlordioxine, TCDD, strongly binds with a special cell receptor called the AH receptor. Afterwards, the dioxin receptor complex moves into the cell nucleus. There it leads to an activation of DNA and therewith an increased protein synthesis. The consequences can be dysfunctions of the cell, modified enzyme activities, or even mutations of the genome, which accelerate cell proliferation. This is called tumor promotion. To liver cancer. Tetrachlordioxine is the most potent known cancerogen, effective on a much higher scale than other known carcinogens, aflatoxins. But it acts chronically over a long period. Some years ago, when Professor Dr. Harry Rosin and Dr. Hans Preisendanz at the Municipal Hygieneinstitute of Dortmund in North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany, had little time to demonstrate first damaging effects of the new refrigerant HFC 134A tetrafluoroethane, they quickly built the microorganism model shown in figure 8 or here on the standing picture of the video. It consists to 8 columns, each representing an active component of our environment or biosphere: high energy UV radiation, lightning discharge, fresh water, sandy soil, green plants, box soil, chalky soil with vegetation and anaerobic swamp. All parts of the microorganism are connected via gas houses. The gas supply is regulated by a control unit. It was suspected that HFC 134A forms water-soluble decomposition products, namely hydrofluoric acid and trifluoric acid, when after leaking from the refrigerators and deep freezers, it is released into the atmosphere and exposed to sunlight. When these acids return with rainwater, they might possibly, after conversion into monofluoroacetic acid, threaten all life in the biosphere. It was necessary to identify this risk at an early stage. The damaging effects of flue gases from waste incineration plants also can be revealed quickly. With bioassays, with such field stays in the microcosm. You would only have to add column with vegetables or column with small animals and or column with human cell cultures, as are commonly used in viral diagnostics. Already then, the environmental hygienists from Dortmund were worried that the terrible toxic environment would develop if electronic waste with a bromated and fluorinated flame retardants were to be incinerated in the presence of catalytic functioning metals, especially copper and silver. They wanted to warn about these dangers. Unfortunately, they were forced to remove this privately built and paid model from the Municipal Institute within 24 hours after word of it spread through newspaper reports. They did not know at the time that a large waste incineration plant was planned in Dortmund, so the only alternative left to Professor Hardy Rosin and Dr. Hans Preisendanz was to undertake the uphill task of informing the public in writing of theoretical persuasion work. With their practice project, the EcoFridge Green Fridge, they still scored a success because Greenpeace was able to mobilize the broad public and with the help of the Eastbonners, which extended then, find an established refrigerator producer in the Ruhr Mountains. So it was the DKK Scharfenstein, later Furon. High heartless, even violent ones, have been placed in the way of the original aim, cryogenic recycling of electronic waste. Professor Hardy Rosin cries of complaint. Why are public servants no longer allowed to serve the public? Became a well-known saying, but remained a pious wish. Doctors in hospitals and medical practices also have had similar disgraceful experiences. Ecologically active doctors association, like the Ökologischer Ärztebund and IGAMED, the organization like Greenpeace or BUND, the German group for Friends of the Earth, often in individual cases only a setting for lectures and information, but at least that. Activities which could co-determinate industrial policies, as in the case of the EcoFridge, Greenpeace, are taboo. Unfortunately, a great deal of knowledge beneficial for the future is suppressed in this way. So, if people from the government say you are an enemy of modern technique, you now know that there is modern technique, the government is the enemy, because the government was told about it, and the government will not realize it. The government is the true enemy of good environmental technique. That all people should know.